everyone. Thanks again for joining back with us. We are going to talk about consistency today.
Consistency.
Yes.
Yeah. I thought I'd just be the icebreaker and grab your face as we started at the beginning to make us all relaxed.
I was a little scared at first.
Consistency. I don't know. I'm very random. That was very inconsistent of me.
I'd say it's consistent of you.
Consistent of me, yeah.
Just one thing you can always be sure of is random with her.
We got to loosen up. But no, consistency. It is such an important topic. I mean, we all know it's like, brushing your teeth, taking a shower. We can look at like functional things. But as like Christians, married Christians, this is the phrase, like right before we popped on here, this is a phrase that popped in my head. Okay.
All right. This will be the first time I've heard it too.
Okay. It is how we show up. Consistency is how we show up every day in a new and living way.
Yes.
How we show up every day in a new and living way. Right.
I was we were listening to something earlier, and that's kind of what kind of spawned this whole topic was basically what we heard was when you are consistent, consistency builds trust.
I love that.
Right.
I love that. All right, let's pause right there and squeeze all that we can out of that one.
Right.
Okay? Like, consistency builds trust because, and I will say, as you have consistently shown up for me, a lot of my, because in my younger years, I had a lot of old insecurities. And so you said, what, consistency builds trust, right? You said trust, consistency builds trust. So when I was younger, I had a lot of old insecurities. And I think part of that is the unspoken is like a fear of abandonment wound, insecurity. Will you still love me in this situation? Will you still love me? And, when your spouse consistently shows up for you, then you feel it. And then you're like, okay. And you kind of have that sigh of relief.
Right.
And so it's like how you're showing up. It's like, okay, I remember when, just this is a silly example, when we were dating, and I looked absolutely terrible. And it was like, I was sick. I was trying to study for exams. Mm-hmm. And I think it was one of the first times you told me that you loved me.
Right.
And I looked awful, and I was just like, okay, I guess he really does. And I actually believed you that you did love me.
I meant it.
But it is. So go ahead. That was just kind of my woman thoughts, but consistency.
Good or bad, right?
Yeah.
You can be consistently bad or you can be consistently good. It's more or less the predictability of it that provides that trust. I trust that they're going to respond in a certain way, right? Because they're consistent in their behavior or the responses. Mm-hmm. So good or bad, you can trust that.
Good or bad, yeah. So someone may have an off day, but you're saying it's kind of like a pattern of how you're showing up.
Exactly.
Okay, a pattern of how you're showing up. And we also talked about, you can show up in behavior, but not in heart. And I think your example was, it was so good, what you said. It's like not being a drone, not being a robot, but, integrating your heart, your emotions and your behavior, your spirit, the spirit behind it.
Right.
Can you say more about that? You were talking about not being like automatic.
Right. A lot of times we get into just an autopilot type mode, right, where it feels like we're being piloted and we're just carrying out, a task or a role or function. You hear the phrase "the mindless drone" because you're not at work. Someone's pulling the strings and directing you.
The mindless drone. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. To where that's so good. To where like you're just going through the motions.
Right.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're doing what's expected of you. Your mind is checked out, or your heart's checked out, but you're just performing a task.
I think when we don't get the renewal that we need, sometimes it can be perfunctory in how we show up. Yeah, for sure. I know it does for me. Like I always say, don't talk to me until I've had my coffee and my vitamins and my quiet time. I have a lot of little rituals because because they help me to renew, but I definitely think I can tell the days if I don't get enough sleep. In a way, it's not bad. It's just realizing as a signal of what you need. So if you are showing up to the one that means well and is intentionally showing up, but it feels like you said, the mindless drone, what would you say to that couple?
I would say to be intentional about needing renewal, making plans, purposefully to be renewed, whether it's going on a hike or a walk in the park.
I like that. Self-care.
Right. You need self-care, because when you serve, you lose your identity and your sense of, being.
Right.
And you become that drone.
Yes. So we first have to realize our identity is not, we have roles, we have assignments, but our identity is first, as a believer, our identity is first in Christ. And that's where we have to be filled up, and also realize that we have like these flesh suits. Okay. So our body gets hungry. Our body gets thirsty. Our body gets tired. And, you can be an extremely disciplined person, but just as a car needs to be refueled, you need gasoline in your tank.
Right. You come across people who are very high functioning.
Yeah.
They're going nonstop, without ever stopping to recharge and renew and refocus. And that's going to lead to burnout every time. Right.
So really consistently refilling your cup helps us to consistently show up.
Sure.
In a new and living way. If we consistently, at the beginning, consistency as a Christian, how we show up every day in a new and living way. And so if we're just on autopilot, if we're just going through the motions, behaviorally, we may be checking all the boxes, but if our heart's not in it, and really, as a couple, you can tell when your marriage needs renewal, when you're just going through the motions, or if you're really like present, if you're really mindful, if you're really enjoying the moment, relaxing in the moment. And you can tell when one person is more stressed than the other, and just being able to communicate and feel safe with, this is where I'm at.
Right. And it's, you can usually tell because maybe someone's shorter in their responses. One or two word, answers, to something that may require more elaboration.
So I think to you, what do I just say? I'm like, I'm done. I just need to be in this like renewal, watch movie box. That's what I usually say.
Sure.
I just say I'm done.
That's that's just done. Mental health.
Yeah.
And knowing that you just need to let your mind rest.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that we're faced with on a daily basis. It's just knowing and being self-aware that I need to kind of just check out, let my mind just kind of drift off in either a movie, a book, some type of blank space,
Right.
And so that's just recharge, right? If you are exercising or you're putting your body under stress, you're not ready for the next set unless you
have a rest
period, pause in between. And same thing with our mind. Your minds can't just go on forever. You need points of rest.
I love that. And just being cognizant of how we are showing up, because I think it said consistency, the way you show up every day leads to long-term progress, long-term growth, the success that you do want to see. And a lot of times in marriage, we think, oh, okay, let's just go in and do one swooping motion, not us, but per se, or not you per se who are watching, but sometimes the mindset are simple fixes, like let's just, buy a huge present and everything's okay. That doesn't work, right? Because you have to have those micro habits to build trust, is what you said. Consistency builds trust. And so how we show up in acts of service and love languages, how we show up and that person is receiving that love is going to move the needle long term for the growth and health of the marriage.
Right.
Yeah.
It's making those consistent steps and those things, making it part of your everyday routine.
Part of your everyday routine. And Adam does so well at being consistent. I am more of the creative, flightsy, emotional. Let's do this. Let's go over here. Let's go over here. And so that adds a lot of spice and dimension. But Adam adds a lot of structure. And Adam, you're very consistent. And he really, really is extremely reliable. Puts me first. Looks out for me in big ways and small ways, in every way. But it does, yes. So, obviously, it's just connecting our goal with how we show up every day. Your goal may be you want a healthy marriage, but just being aware and being mindful and reflective. And you said intentional,
right?
In how, I like that, intentional in how we show up. Knowing that we're both flawed beings in need of the grace of God, but we can intentionally bring our hearts before God each day and show up in a new and living way.
Right, exactly. Yeah. I think when you can have, structure in your marriage, you're working towards the same goals. You can plan out your future, making consistent steps to that, and
just build on it. Yeah.
Right, you have aim, you have direction.
Aim and direction. Oh, I like that. That's really good. Consistency allows for direction.
Think about it if you're rowing a boat, right? You need to be paddling on both sides to move forward. If you're just paddling on one side, you're going to be going in circles. Or if you're
misaligned,
inconsistent with your rhythms, right? You're rowing more on one side, but then occasionally rowing on the other. You're going to go in a very curved, zigzag pattern, right? But if you're both working together, you're rowing on the left, I'm rowing on the right, and we're moving in unison. We're moving straight line together.
Yeah. I love that. So if we were able to track our progress, we may have highs, we may have lows, but is the overall progress moving in a certain direction?
Right.
I like that.
So, in relationships and business, that's why it matters. It's the little things that lead to the big things that you got to be consistent in.
I love that. That's so good. Is there anything else we want to say about this, or?
I think that's the main key. Is identifying things that maybe you're not consistent in that do require consistency. Because when you're not consistent, it can lead to insecurities and frustrations,
conflict,
right, and conflict. So it's identifying the things that do matter and prioritizing that. The non-negotiables where you have to be consistent, whether it's showing up on time or being home by a certain time, just the little things as well, so yeah.
I love that. And I love you.
I love you too.
That was good. Yeah. It helps us to renew our minds, and just keep it fresh. Whatever you focus on, you're going to see progress on. And so just even showing up, us being able to chat together, it is mutually beneficial for our marriage to remind us just that little things add up and make a difference in each other's hearts. So
yes,
it's good. Thanks for joining.
All right. We'll see you again next time.
Bye.